Are you ready to get started? All right, you're ready to start us.
Good morning, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order of our ABTEL board and say welcome to our November meeting. With that being said, we are fully live online, and welcome to those that are not here in person as well. With that being said, our order of business today begins with introduction of Board of Education liaison, ex officio members, and department personnel to ABTEL. So I will turn the microphone over to Mr. Gilstrap for that.
Good morning, everybody. We do have a fairly large crowd today of VDOE team members, as you can tell. We got a lot of teamwork in this from multiple departments, and I'm not going to introduce everybody at the table because several of you are speaking today. I'm not sure if Ellen or Jill are going to speak unless it's in direct response, but I do know we'll be introducing Dr. Harris and Ms. Cox in just a little bit. So I will hold off on the introductions on those two, but Ellen, as those of you that participated on our virtual call earlier last month would remember, she was there. She's part of our VLA team, as well as Jill. She is also part of our VLA team. We do have our regular Pearson membership here today. Good to see you again. And Ida, would you like me to introduce you? And just we have another guest here. So Yes, yes. And Sonia Brody is also here with us. She's from my office. Yeah, she's right behind you. Sorry, Sonia. Sonia's taking minutes for us today to help us out. Those of you that needed to talk to Brian, if you did at the end, just come see me. He will not be able to make it today. So those of you might have needed a licensure question, just come see me at the end. My regular team is here, Shauna LeBlond, and now Dr. Torbert. And if I didn't introduce myself, I'm Rob Gilstrap. I'm Assistant Superintendent of Human Capital, which is our current title. Um, let's see. I don't think we have any of our legislators here today, and I know that Ms. Holton is not able to make it today, so there's really not any ex officio members that I can think of. We do have one new board member, but they're not here today, so I'll wait till they're here to introduce them. But we had one person step off, and so we added one person to replace them, and so they'll probably be at our next board meeting. It was quite recently that they were changed. That would be the guess. You want to do the agenda and the minutes, and I do believe we shared both of those out earlier, but I can pull them up if anyone has a question.
So next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. This does require a motion and a second.
I move the approval of the agenda.
One correction, Peggy Schindler is the chair of the teacher education committee.
And that'll all be corrected today.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone can state their names, when you would, whatever.
For the minutes. Yes. So we'll go back to you, Mr. Ramsey.
Okay, Glenn Ramsey, and I move for the approval of the updated version of the agenda.
Second, Peggy Schindler.
Thank you. Motion's been made and properly seconded to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Next is the approval of the minutes. They were actually emailed out prior to the meeting. Without objection, we'll accept the minutes as presented. Without objection. Minutes have been accepted. Next, we have public comment. And we have no public comment today. We're moving right along, ladies and gentlemen. So next up is our presentations. And as Mr. Gilstrap alluded to, we have a couple of guests present. And from the Office of Instruction and Optional Language Assessment Requirements, we have Dr. Lisa Harris and Ms. Joelle Cox.
Good to go.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I am Lisa Harris. I am the coordinator of World Languages and International Education in the Department of Instruction Office of Humanities, and I am joined with my colleague today.
Good morning. I'm Joelle Cox, the coordinator of multilingual learner instruction. I have a cubicle right next to Lisa's.
And we're really excited to be with you today to bring you an update that has been long in the making. We are wanting to share with you some progress that's been made on some legislation that was passed back in 2018 to establish a dual language endorsement for teachers who are looking to expand their credentials for elementary programs that have dual language. And so we will go ahead and get started by sharing with you a little bit about the background of why we're here. This legislation was passed in 2018, as I said, and it established a new pre-K 6 endorsement. There are two types of endorsement with this. one endorsement for dual language target language, which is for instruction that is taught in a language other than English. And then dual language English, which is for instruction that is taught in English, but in partnership with an elementary program that has another portion of their instruction in a language other than English. This new licensure regulation established this pre-K 6 endorsement with some required coursework and some background that is needed in order to have that endorsement, and also provides for an add-on endorsement pathway as well as the initial licensure. One of the things to note about this endorsement, which goes along with the work that you have been doing, is that the teachers who are applying for this endorsement are exempt from the VCLA, but they do have to take the subject area assessments related to the subjects that are taught in the elementary program. In this particular licensure, they also have specified that teachers who obtain this endorsement are not required to also have the elementary endorsement. So it's an additional pathway, not a replacement pathway, and not a substitute pathway for that English one. And the reason that this particular endorsement is so timely is because it is part of a growing area in Virginia, which Joelle will share with you.
So currently in Virginia, there are at least 16 divisions and 82 schools that have dual language immersion programs. And as our programs continue to grow, there's an increasing need to have teachers who are able to meet that demand with the dual language endorsement as a support for that.
And as you can see by the map that's showing on the screen, these programs are expanding across the state. There's been a heavy concentration in the Northern Virginia area as well as the Southeastern Virginia area. But we're also starting to move into some of the more rural areas and being used as a program model to help support a very diverse population. So the reason that this initial license was proposed by divisions who are adding on this program was to give that additional pathway for teachers who may already have a license in either a world language that they teach at the secondary level or an elementary license, but they want to understand more about the process of teaching content in a language in addition to English and what that language acquisition development might look like. So our current pathway, as you know, really essentially acquires a bachelor's degree in elementary education, which is really not normally the profile that we're looking for dual language programs. And so this new initial license is going to provide a pathway to help our bilingual teachers become endorsed with appropriate background to be able to teach content areas in elementary education, with the focus on how that content is acquired through second language learning. This is not just an English learner program. This is a program that can have English learners in it, but can also be used for native speakers of English who are looking to become bilingual through their education career. And so they become bilingual through content. And so it's available in different types of implementation, including as a language education model, which Joelle would be able to speak to, as well as a world language model or an immersion model. These new regulations really help us to fill a gap in locating qualified staff who can teach in these very specialized program models, and to provide a pathway for existing teachers to improve their credentials. So while it's not required to have a dual language endorsement, it is an additional credential that teachers could bring both in the application process or as an existing teacher in a program wanting to improve their understanding of language acquisition, literacy, and biliteracy development through this specialized program.
So we are working through a systems thinking approach at the department where we are using an interdepartmental team that involves teacher licensure, data services, and instruction. Each of those offices plays a key role in this process. We need teacher licensure to help with creating those endorsement codes, data services to be able to add those endorsement codes into the appropriate courses in the SCED. SCED endorsement code crosswalk, sorry, that's a mouthful, and to flag master record collection for dual language programs. We also need humanities as someone to be able to create the communication and provide technical assistance out to the field. So through this work plan and this work team, we are going to be sharing information with the field on our Virginia Department of Education website, through our resource hubs, through presentations, webinars, creating frequently asked questions, documents, and be available to answer questions from the field as we roll out this new endorsement. So it truly is a collaborative effort with multiple offices working together to make sure that this plan works.
And now where do you come in? Well, with the next steps in this program, there are still a few things that need put in place. Joelle described you to the departmental plan that we're using internally to help put the pieces together. But there is another big piece to this program that is still in the regulatory process, and that is the approved teacher preparation program, which is still, it's in the final phase of the regulatory process, but it is still with the Secretary of Education's office. So while that has not yet been approved, the option remaining for teachers to be able to obtain this new endorsement will be through the evaluation of their coursework. And there is some very specific requirements that they would need for the add-on endorsement or for the new license to be considered, which includes an evaluation of their subject and content background and their language proficiency, which is currently determined through either the Praxis or one of the ACTFL, it's the oral proficiency interview, writing proficiency tests, which are available in a limited number of languages. Now, some of you may remember that back in February, we presented to you on another option for meeting the assessment requirement for world language licenses. And that was to consider using the Global Seal of Biliteracy as documentation of the candidate's language proficiency. And so what we're asking today is for you to consider whether or not it might be an appropriate time to put forth a proposal to the Board of Education and through your pathways of accepting that additional option for teachers to demonstrate their language ability through that Global Seal of Biliteracy. Since we presented in February, there have been some other states who have expressed an interest in doing so. Illinois and Washington State have been looking at using them and have been putting forth candidates who have demonstrated their language through that pathway. So as that option is one that we ask you to consider, we do also want to let you know that we are available to help craft any proposals that you might want to put forth, and we're happy to do that. And we're also happy to provide technical assistance, both to the schools, to the communities, to the universities who are considering adding courses and programs that would allow candidates to obtain this new endorsement. So with that targeted technical assistance based on whatever needs we can identify from the school divisions and other constituency groups, we hope to provide a smooth transition and rollout for this new endorsement. So thank you so much for letting us come and share this information with you. And at this time, we would be delighted to entertain any questions you might have, either about the new endorsement or about the option we presented in February for the Global Seal.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Can you hear me at the mic? Okay.
We can.
Once this all goes through, if it went through and someone had the initial dual language endorsement in elementary, would they be able to teach a regular elementary class?
Yes.
Okay, so it could work for dual enrollment or regular elementary as well.
Correct.
Okay.
So the elementary endorsement, it is the pre-K 6. Some of the content could be taught in English as a matter of course. It could also be taught in the partner language with whatever language that is that the school district has selected for their partner language. We do have teachers currently teaching in those programs with just the elementary license. So the dual language has the qualifications of elementary with some additional skills added about language acquisition, which can only serve to support students whether they're in a dual language program or not, especially if they have English learners in their program. Okay. Well, should you come up with any questions at any point, we are really happy to provide any answers that we can and any support you might need. And we hope to be able to hear from you at some time in the future about potential ways we can partner to move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you again to Dr. Harris and Ms. Cox for their presentation. Next up, we have Mr. Gilstrap, who will be speaking about the Virginia Literacy Act regulatory changes for Chapter 23. Mr. Gilstrap.
Show this really quickly first. Oops. It doesn't say a whole lot more, but I wanted to point out this is almost the exact same wording you all had at our virtual meeting, except for instead of saying chapter 23, it said 543. So as promised in the last meeting, I was going to bring to you the changes that were recommended for chapter 23, which is the licensure chapter. 543 is the teacher education chapter. And so they do work together, and the law actually does require us to visit both. And so I will pull up the document that we have created with the highlights and show them to you all and answer questions. I also have two experts in instruction here that can also answer questions. I do know of one correction that needs to be made, and I've highlighted it. So if we do approve this, someone would probably need to make a recommendation to correct that one error that I'll show in a minute. So let me pull up the document. Before I pull that one up, I'll just show you, this is the actual document that would be sent to the regulatory town hall in case you wondered what happens between what we say and what we do and what happens to get it all changed in the code. Well, it has to go through the regulatory town hall, and this has already been submitted, but it'd be waiting your approval and then board approval before it would come into effect. But just to scan through it, just so you can see some of the items that it talks about. It talks about the justification and the rights to be able to change regulations, some clarity on definitions, and then legal basis, and then it gets right into why we would be changing it, the substance of the changes. Here's another part of the why, and then it'll actually get into the list, economic impacts, state agencies, and anyone that wants to see this document in its entirety, I would have no problem with sharing it with you. Alternates, if we didn't make the changes, and it gets pretty into the actual code here, where it talks about what codes and what changes need to happen and why. So if you ever wanted to see that, I'm totally willing to share that, but I wanted you to see that it's not just the one document that I'm going to share with you and then it happens. It actually goes through a formal process as well. So this should look familiar. This is the official document, and I'll just scroll up to where we get to changes. Here's the first change, and this is in the definition section. It's the same change that was in the other definition sections on chapter 543. We just have to make sure that we define or at least aim a definition at another definition somewhere in the law, and that's what this one really does. Is it references another spot in the law where the definition for evidence-based literacy instruction takes place. This one also has science-based reading as a definition that needs to be updated. And then we get into, this is all one document. All the changes are in one document. All right. Here we go. So this would be our first substantial addition. I'll let you look at it for a second. But I do believe this was shared with you also, I believe. Yes. Okay. I'm ready for a question if you need one.
It's on.
Testing 1, 2. So, Ron, my first question here is that, so if approved, will this mean that EPPs will have to, the day this approved, this means that none of our matrices will meet all the competencies? Is that,
Well, I'll let John L. answer that, but let me say something right before John L. does. There's a adoption window, I guess you would call it, from when it is approved to when we will take full account. It wouldn't be an instantaneous thing. And then like everybody that's a senior this year that maybe have already completed all their coursework and just haven't finished their student teaching, they're still going to get to graduate. And we have in our adoption plan, we have suggestions for people like that. And then there's also a phase in of the adoption process. So John, you want to go ahead and answer more of that?
Yes, so we've been working, so there'll be some additional guidance that we will provide you. It will not be an automatic. And many of the programs that have been reviewed in the last year or two, they have been reviewed to make sure that they align with the VLA because our specialists are the ones that are reviewing them. And so that's why we've been getting a lot of back and forth because they're making sure that those components are addressed in the programs. And so I have a running list of the programs that need to be that have already been looked at and what needs to be addressed in the other programs. So, but it will not be an immediate. We will have a plan and we will look at a schedule of of completion.
so, and for this, for the one that we're on right here in the language and lit, what would be, what would the VDOE be looking for in terms of how that is actually met through the competencies? Would it be a specific program or courses or just the inclusion of those competencies in a course? What are we looking for?
This is more of a technical because I'm not a literacy specialist. However, we will be providing you more information, terms, because when you look at the regulations, the way they are written currently, or rather the way we revise them, is very specific and it has certain terms that we've included and terms that have been excluded because we don't want to be contradict what's in the law. So we will give you more information on what you need to do, but just adding that into the competency will not be sufficient.
Do either one of you want to respond to that? Oh, okay. I just didn't want to leave you. Okay. Didn't want to leave you out. I would also say that we have this same issue with other things. I mean, as we add new things to what the expectation is, some schools will adopt them in one way and another will adopt in another way. So it's not like a blanket, everyone must do it this way, but that'll be a partnership with VDOE and us when we work on a unique plan to adopt these.
Yeah, I think, and in my mind, and I'm sure other EPPs are thinking the same thing, is that so our lives revolve around these regs and the competencies in each of those regs. And we're just thinking about is that, okay, I need to prepare to add this to what we're already doing, but we want to make sure is that if there was some certain program or something that we're looking for, you all are looking for, that we go ahead and start making plans for that. Because as I was going through the document, this It's pretty extensive. The Literacy Act hits on, I don't know, 15 of these. So it's a big deal for us. Yeah.
So, and I don't think that we, and correct me if I'm wrong, we won't necessarily be looking for specificity as Plan ABC is being utilized in this course. Again, we will also, what we're going to be working on is a guidance document that will provide some additional information for you as far as like text and everything, so that EPPs will know that this is to be used as well. And so I hear what you're saying, but I can't envision. We did. Yes.
Any other questions before I continue on? Okay. This is the one that needs to be corrected. This is line 326. I highlighted it, but you'll notice that fiction and nonfiction are still listed. And as we go through, you'll see that we change almost all of those. So this will be the line I will hope somebody asks me to correct, or else I'll have to bring it in a separate regulatory move later, which won't be a problem because there's other things always that need to be corrected, but it would be nice to just clean it up right now since it hasn't gone to the board yet. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and you'll see that same kind of language right here, where fiction and nonfiction are replaced with literary and informational text. And that's, to be honest, that's one of the major changes we see in here is either we're going to change that or we're going to incorporate evidence-based reading and science. It gets kind of monotonous because they're all different sections, but it's still the same kind of action. Another one with fiction and nonfiction. Grounded in science-based reading, research, and evidence-based literacy instruction. You'll see that quite often. When we go back, we're just.
You can leave it here because it impacts the pre-K.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So the two additions to the English subsections for pre-K 3, pre-K 6 about science-based reading, research, evidence-based literacy instruction. Again, I question why they're in the English subsections for these two endorsements as opposed to the professional studies with the teaching of reading and writing, language acquisition, the pedagogy pieces. I feel like this impacts the EPPs, but it also impacts us on the division side as far as finding eligible candidates for provisional licensure, because again, they're more, that speaks more to pedagogy and not to the subject content area. Is there anything that can be done about that?
So first off, let me say to everyone here, Shelby was one of the people on our committee that reviewed these, one of our expert committee members that reviewed these. And you brought this up at that time as well. And so I did a little bit of research and digging on why in both areas. And so here would be one answer for why in both areas. If you only embed it in the EPP, if you only embed it there, it's only going to impact our state graduates. It will not impact people that come into Virginia from other universities that do not have the Virginia requirements for graduation. And so this year, there was quite a lot of effort spent in getting the teachers that are currently teachers up to speed with science-based reading through the course with UVA and some other what are the other tests that they could do to learn that? It's O something. Yeah. Yes. In letters. That's how people that are currently teaching that are already through their education program, already have a license. Those are some of the ways that they're catching up on this new learning. So if we only put it in with the EPPs, we would continually have to do that on a state level. Whereas opposed to that, with this embedded here, there could be a stand aside way to embed that learning so that you're hiring somebody in Prince William that's from New Jersey, and you're going to know, oh, hey, they don't have science-based reading evidence. They don't have anything in that because New Jersey isn't as far along as Virginia. This shows that it still needs to be part of their curriculum and understanding to be a highly qualified teacher in Virginia. And I don't know if that answers your full question, because I think you're saying it's a little bit more, it's just on the teaching skill side than the teaching content side. Is that kind of what you
Right.
were saying?
I see this more as the content matter of the endorsement
Mhm.
and not the pedagogy side.
Mhm.
I just feel like that's something that should be in the professional study
Mhm.
side of the licensure piece
Mhm.
rather than the content piece.
So if you, and I'm not saying you're wrong, you might be more right than I am here, but here would be an answer. If you don't focus on evidence-based literacy instruction, you don't talk about the HQIMs, the high quality instructional materials with the students in elementary, and you only talk about how do you teach this skill, they won't have the curriculum background to implement those skills as opposed to the people that do go through that.
But they're all gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
do their professional studies, no
Mhm.
matter what,
Right.
coming in through provisional
Mhm.
pathway.
Mhm.
Same as they would coming
Mhm.
through as licensure, state approved EPP pathway.
Mhm.
And if they're coming from out of state
Mhm.
through reciprocity, then all this is a moot point anyway, because they're gonna license through reciprocity. And then they're not going,
Unless it becomes a statutory requirement,
unless it becomes a statutory.
which I think that there's a chance that after the full implementation, it'd have to be, or else we would have this huge gap in teachers. Those that came out of Virginia and those that were already here, as opposed to the vast number of teachers that won't be in that category, will not have any understanding of this. Now, I don't have the ability to enact a
Right.
statutory requirement, but I just see, well, if there's a hole that is created there, someone's going to have to fill it somehow. And that seems like an easy way for the legislators to do that, to have us create a small micro-credential type, like we do for cultural competency.
Exactly.
And then they do it through that. I want to make sure I give an opportunity for my content experts, if you all agree, disagree, because if we make this change as a group, I want to make it clear we're making a recommendation to the board, and the board's most likely going to follow our recommendation. Not that that's a problem, but I want to make sure that we take a recommendation to them that is appropriate. Do you have anything, do you feel like that's a good argument, or?
That matter?
Yep.
Okay, so the thought process was to make sure that we were consistent across all of the different regulations. As far as licensure and regulations go, that is outside our wheelhouse and understanding which pieces address which aspects. But again, the thought was making sure we were consistent with our language across all the regulations when we suggested this revision.
When we get to the end, maybe that's a motion that you might want to make, depending. Okay. We have another question back here. No, I don't mind answering them throughout. We're going to get kind of repetitive here on what you're going to see. So I don't want you to have to wait for all the repetition before you ask a question.
Could you scroll back up to where you were changing the language about nonfiction and fictional text? There. Why are we making that change when the standards of learning use over and over and over fiction and nonfiction, fiction and nonfiction? The standards of learning don't use literary and informational texts.
Someone give her a microphone.
I just feel like the language should be consistent with the standards that the teachers are trying to meet, and those are statewide reading standards.
So the 2024 English Standards of Learning changed everything from fiction and nonfiction to literary and informational. So it is no longer fiction and nonfiction in the newest 2024 standards, which are being implemented this year.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep. The
Are
old,
those on the website? Because I just opened up the standards of learning on the VDOE website. Not that I.
we can show you how to find them.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2024 standards have their own page with all of the resources because we are in our full implementation year. So there's no crosswalk year.
Okay.
So we're moving
But
forward.
beyond that, why? Like we're just making this flowery, really academic language, and if it means the same thing, I'm not understanding why this change was needed to be made.
I think that just again, for consistency's sake, so that what we're asking our teachers to be teaching and the terms we're asking them to use with their students matches what they are expected to learn in their K-12 standards as well.
Do you have any idea why it was changed in the standards for 2024?
To make it more global and easier for teachers to kind of fit what they're trying to do. Because there's literary nonfiction, there's literary, there's informational. So if you look at the 2024 standards, you'll see how they are kind of grouped. And it just allows for different ways to explain and show different structures of text and everything else with the way that they've been divided this way.
I guess on the next go around, maybe try to get on the standards committee or something. Yeah. Yeah. Continue forward, everybody. Okay. Let's see. Now we're on middle education here, 170. Got another fiction, nonfiction, and then also must be grounded in science-based research and evidence-based literacy. Now we're in professional studies. Of course, our must be grounded. This one is English as a second language. A little bit more than just that change. Guided reading is more of the what do we call that? And yeah, I was thinking of whole language. Is that what they called it also? Yeah. Another special ed. Another special ed. Deaf and hearing. Special ed early childhood. Special ed general curriculum. This is the other one you were referring to, Shelby? Was this the other one you were referring to? Special ed general? Okay, just, no, okay. 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 Special ed general curriculum add-on. One thing you probably are discovering, we have a lot of different types of endorsements that are subtly very similar. General curriculum middle for special ed. Just pass. Add on. Almost to the end. Reading specialist, which is specifically called for in the law. And that would be it. Those would be all the changes. You made a comment earlier that I think is a good one to point out. this has a big impact on EPPs and students, but the changes are very small and subtle in the regs. So when you're like, well, fast track or not fast track, well, the changes are minor, but the impact of the changes are a little bit more significant. Yes, sir. Need a microphone? Yeah, I I was signaling, Shauna.
Thank you. I just want to follow up with Shelby's, make sure that I understand what is being discussed here. So for EEPPs, whenever we have evidence-based, science-based, when it comes to instructional strategies, I understand it's professional practices within a lot of the education program departments work we do. Under the sections where it talks about English and that coursework also has to have those things. So in practical terms, I'm trying to understand what that means. Is that the English department at my university that teaches courses, in English language arts and literature and all these things will also have to have evidence-based, science-based practices. So whenever we're looking at competencies and matrices, it does live in a different department within our university. So I'm just for practical understanding, I need to know that that's what that means.
So I'm gonna attempt to answer that. Catch me if I'm wrong. So different universities handle their English education courses differently. Smaller universities probably tend to have all English education majors just take regular English courses and they just cross over. Whereas a large university with a very robust education department might have their own teachers for English education within the education part of their university. So my thoughts are, if it's within the whole university, then yes, the English teachers would have to adjust if that's where the university decides to make those embeddings. But there are different ways to approach it where it's not in already standing courses. It could be in a course of its own that only education majors take. Is that fair to say, John Al? Is that fair back there?
Okay.
Did
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any other questions?
Wait for the microphone.
They may just incorporate it into one of the professional education courses that outside of the department, because I was thinking about what you just said, and that is you got to go to each department and say, okay, are you okay with including this as part of one of the courses that is required? And we may end up doing something with the professional ed, because, those are housed with us, that would, whenever we have to justify this or complete the competency, that we put in that particular course to meet that. But the more that I see this, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of EPPs are thinking about a whole separate course to address this, which is a really big deal. But yeah, I was thinking about how I was going to go to each department and say, okay, you're all okay with doing that. Yeah, thanks. It's me rambling.
Where there
Just
wasn't a
to-
question, but it was illustrative. So, okay.
But Andy, many have embedded it in their current coursework that have already. So that's what I have seen, and you guys correct. I haven't seen any courses have been established in isolation. That's embedded into what they already had.
Some of our endorsements don't take all, but we've embedded that, but some of our endorsements don't take all those courses. So then we have to go back and either make those part of the courses or include those little learning modules in there.
And it also, and again, the professional studies have been updated as well. So you will have no choice but to address it in there as well. So you seem really laid back, so it's okay, Andy. I think you can handle it.
Any other questions on my presentation? You won't have to vote or talk about it until we get to the action item. So maybe take a note if you need, or I can go back and show something else if you needed clarity. Okay. Let me go ahead and introduce Dr. Torbert to come up next. Okay, that's the end of that presentation. So I'm going to invite Dr. Torbert to come up, and she's got the annual education profile. So let me pull that up for her. Is it the, no, it's its own thing, right? Let me go back. I thought I opened it already for you. You emailed this one too. Yeah, and I thought I had all the PowerPoints open. That's that one. That's the one, that's our main one. That's National Friendship Week. And then I also have a couple.
Look like either one that I'm on.
Nope.
It looks like you have the board items out there opposed to.
Let's just go. You emailed this. Gmail. Did you email that one?
No, I didn't. I just shared them with you.
Shared, that's fine. Even if it's shared, it'll come up. Here we go.
Pull the other one up because they're going right back to back, right?
Yeah, the other one's right. Here. Endorsements.
Good morning, everyone. So this morning I will be going over the annual profile, annual education profile. Screen. I want to be in full screen. That's the wrong one. That's not mine. I switched out of the program.
You can do that one too.
No, thank you. Well, let's go. I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong. This is me. Okay. There we go. Okay. Each year, educator preparation programs have to submit their annual education preparation profile. This is submitted online, and the regulations govern the review of approval of education programs in Virginia requires all institutions to submit this report to the Department of Ed. The institutions of higher learning submit this report May 1 of each year, and then from there, the report is reviewed from our office, and we take that data and we publicly display it on the department's website. The annual profile consists of these 12 different components that each EPP has to report. Their accreditation status, endorsement program status, number of candidates submitted in a program, comparison of candidates, number of program completers for each endorsement program, number of program non-completers, biennial accountability data results, satisfaction ratings by school administrators and clinical experience supervisors of student teachers, satisfaction ratings by employers of program graduates, satisfaction ratings of program graduates within 2 years of employment, recognition of other program achievements, and other data as required by the State Board of Education. These different parameters were actually developed via ABTEL and went to the board for approval. And so the board has that liberty if they would like to change anything to these requirements that we currently require EPPs to report. So I would love to go live live, but you know how things go. But I'm not going to go live. I'm just screenshots for us to look at what you can see on the department's website. So currently, this year's data has been posted, and if you go to the DOE's website with the educator prep program, down at the very bottom, you have Build the Table, the annual education profile program profiles. And if you click down at the bottom to the educator prep Build a Table, it'll take you to another page, which you can select different data points that you can use to look up information on all of the Virginia EPPs. You can compare males to females. You can actually look at what program endorsements each EPP has, how many program completers they have, any of the information that was listed in those 12 criteria is listed as on this page. So I'm gonna pretend like we're actually on the page and we've clicked some information. And so when we go to 2023, we're gonna collect George Mason Institution is the institution, and we're going to collect female number of EPP candidates submitted. Did all that? Whoop. Down here at the bottom, George Mason females, 444. Then an Excel sheet, or rather a CVS sheet, which you could export into an Excel sheet, and it'll give you the data so you can manipulate. And then you can do this with multiple different EPPs so that you can compare data across EPPs. So I did another one, and of course I selected special ed, and this time I selected, I don't know, because my little lines are off. Did I select Averett? Oh, I did all. Yes, I did all. And so this this shows you all of the program, all of the candidates that are admitted to all of the EPPs in Virginia that have a special ed general curriculum K-12 program. And then this is the Excel sheet that goes along with it. Okay. This really is for information only because we are required to do this annually. But if you have additional questions, please see me. And just to note, all EPPs did submit all of their data. Whew, that was fun. By trying to make sure everyone has all their data so that we could post it officially for everyone, for the public to view. Questions? Okay. Moving on. No.
It's really, it's not on the EPP side, it's for on the college reporting side. It says the number of students admitted. Whenever I ask for this at the college as a whole, they always say, well, we admit a whole bunch of folks. Are you sure that doesn't mean enrolled? Because they're admitted and they may or may not enroll. So I always go back and forth, with the big house, is that, are you talking about people that we admitted? Or are we talking about people that enrolled? So I always just say, I think they really want enrolled.
I agree. And again, ABTEL created the language for this. So we can look at, maybe we might be, you can look at changing the language. And when individuals ask that question, I ask for enroll because they admit zillions of prospective students. However, they don't all enroll to that institution. You are correct. Mm-hmm. Yes. Any other questions? Okay. Moving on to our new education endorsement programs. This is a standard process that we use at the department, and we present at ABTEL annually. Well, I would say probably twice a year, we will come with new endorsement programs that have been requested. Per our regulations for approved programs, EPPs must submit new program requests to our office, which is submitted in the spring. I think the deadline is March 30th for EPPs to submit new program requests. The EPPs must include an application, partnership and collaboration agreements, the matrices, and letters of support. This is just a sample of what our partnerships and collaboration form looks like. For this, for today, I'm requesting that the following programs be recommended for approval to the Board of Education. Christopher Newport, early elementary grades, pre-K through 6, undergraduate level. Emory and Henry College, early elementary grades, pre-K through 6, undergraduate level. Liberty University, special education, adaptive curriculum, K through 12, undergraduate. ODU, Old Dominion University, early elementary grades, pre-K to 6, graduate. Mathematics, secondary, graduate. University of Lynchburg, career and technical education, transition and special needs, add-on, graduate. Virginia Commonwealth University, English, secondary, undergraduate. Health and physical education, pre-K through 12, graduate. History and social science, undergraduate. And lastly, Virginia Tech Middle School, graduate, special education and general curriculum, K through 6, graduate. Just on a side note, what happens when the EPPs submit their programs to the agency? Our content specialists at the agency, those that were here earlier, review those programs to make sure that they align with the Virginia State competencies. We go back and forth until that alignment is successful. And then from there, we present them here at ABTEL. After they are presented at ABTEL for your approval, it will move on to the Board of Education for final approval and then implementation after that. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Torbert, for your presentations. Let's give her a round of applause. So currently, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an additional presentation, but I'm getting the signal that we might need to take a break. So it's currently 10:02. We'll resume at 10:15. So again, it's currently 10:02 a.m. We'll resume at 10:15. Thank you. Like I'm gonna make another pot of whatever this is. I don't even know what I think she's going to. I think I explained some shooting. But when we have time. Well, see, that's what I.
And then I was like,
Sign me up for that.
But anyway, I was like, when you're able to, you can see it. And I'm telling you, symptoms get complicated. Yeah, still.
I have to go and figure out.
So I'm getting You want to do these and some cheese.
It's okay. Now that we have everybody back in the room, we'll go ahead and resume our meeting. So again, now that we have everyone back in the room, we'll go ahead and resume our meeting. Well, I don't want to. See, since we didn't know how to listen to my voice, you had to listen to the gavel. So again, now that we have everyone back in the room, we'll go ahead and resume the meeting, which takes us to our last presentation for National Apprenticeship Week with Ms. Shauna LeBron. And then we'll roll into 2 action items, of which we'll probably need to be making some modifications according to what we've heard this morning. So I will now turn things over to Ms. LeBron. You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. How are you? So I know that November is packed with important days, right? We had Election Day, we had Veterans Day. Thank you to anyone who served. We have Thanksgiving next week, but really the most important week is this week because it's National Apprenticeship Week. How exciting, right? I'm not biased at all. So this is it's actually a federally designated week. So it's a nationwide celebration where employers, let me move myself out of here. I'm in my own way. Where employers, industry representatives, labor organizations, community-based organizations, basically anybody who has any hand in apprenticeships, they come together to showcase their successes and showcase the value of registered apprenticeship. So it provides the public with an opportunity to learn more about the benefits of registered apprenticeship and the programs available within their communities. So over this week, there's over 2,000 events, which is really exciting, not just in Virginia, that's nationwide, but still exciting that there's so many people coming to celebrate this week and the benefits of apprenticeship. Now, I don't know if, come on, you can do it. For this week, we are actually, I say we, but our local celebrity known as Assistant Superintendent of Human Capital, Rob Gilstrap, will be on a nationwide webinar celebrating and hi. A solid flashback. But Rob will be highlighting with the National Center for Grow Your Own, as well as representatives from Alaska and North Carolina, talking about a coast-to-coast perspective on registered teacher apprenticeships. So I really recommend that all of you, if you are interested and you are available, please chime in. I know I will be chiming in, and they already told me that I would have first preference of questions to ask Rob anonymously. So no problem. If you have a question you're afraid to ask, I will happily do it for you so that Rob can answer, not me. But that will be on Wednesday at 1 p.m. our time. So the flyer also has Central Time, so make sure you look at our East Coast time. I have some exciting news. We are now up to 33 as of September school divisions who are approved to offer registered teacher apprenticeships. So that is very, very exciting. And we have more to come. So this month, as you know, we had our state apprenticeship expansion funding grant was due. I was hoping I'd be able to come to you with awards, but unfortunately I'm not able to right now, but we are hopefully going to have them awarded in December with that funding. So we're very excited for our 33 school divisions who are offering this as of this year. So with that, I thought maybe since it's National Apprenticeship Week, we would not hear from me. Maybe should hear from one of our school divisions who are actually implementing this and hear about the impact. So with that, I'd like to welcome up Ms. Shelby Elliott from Prince William County so she can highlight the Prince William County teacher apprenticeship. Good to go.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. Oh, wrong button. So I have to say, in over 25 years in public education, this has to be
the most exciting and most rewarding project I have ever worked on. And I'm going to go through pretty quickly and just give you a brief overview of our program. We partner with Virginia Commonwealth University's RTR program, and they are currently in their 14th year of having a teacher residency apprenticeship program. They began in Richmond Public Schools and are now partnering with 22 school districts throughout the Commonwealth. VCU RTR has prepared over 374 teachers to work in high-need schools. They have trained over 299 teacher mentors. 40% of their graduates are teachers of color, and 82% of their graduates maintain over a 3-year retention rate in their initial school division. Numerous graduates have gone on to become teachers of the year and have moved into other leadership positions in their school divisions. So Prince William's partnership with VCU's RTR program started in 2022. It began as an unpaid teacher residency program. And that was also the year that we were so fortunate to be given a teacher apprenticeship planning grant award from the Virginia Department of Education. In 2024, we launched our paid teacher apprenticeship program, and Prince William teacher apprentices receive a progressive salary and benefits they earn while they learn. VCU and Prince William recruit teacher apprentices from teacher assistants, substitutes, temporary teachers, any paraprofessionals, and even people outside of our school division who just live in our community. We recruit strong veteran mentor teachers. These are our rock star teachers that I get recommendations from principals in my high need schools to mentor them. And we pay the mentor teachers a $4,000 stipend per year to host a teacher apprentice. We pay 33% cost share. That kind of includes the training costs for the mentor stipends, all of our division cost share fees. VCU provides the opportunity for the apprentices to complete an approved program, teacher preparation program of study. They earn their bachelor's degree. All tuition and fees are covered by a stipend that VCU provides to them. VCU gives the mentor teachers all training from the new teacher center and coaching and mentoring. And program completers, once they finish the program, they have their degree, they have their teaching license, and they begin teaching for us in the division. We still provide them a new teacher coach for the first 2 years that they're teaching in their classroom. That coach meets with them once a week for an hour a week to help them in anything that they need support and assistance in, and meets with them every other week in the second year of teaching. And at this time, VCU is still the largest and longest standing teacher residency in the Commonwealth. So the teacher apprentices must, at this time, have an associate's degree to apply to be in this program. They have to have a GPA of at least 2.5. That is a mandatory requirement from VCU's School of Education. They sign a service agreement committing to teach with us for a minimum of 3 years at the completion of their program. We currently offer 2 pathways of BSED in elementary ed and a Bachelor's of Science in Special Ed General Curriculum K-12. We are hoping to add soon a Bachelor's of Science in Secondary Education. Applicants pay no application fee to apply. They upload their transcripts. They have to provide 3 recommendations, a written statement of intent, and then when they are screened, candidates that are screened from the application are then interviewed by a panel that is composed of both Prince William HR staff and VCU staff. So, as I mentioned, we started our first paid teacher apprenticeship program in January of 2024 with 18 teacher apprentices, 10 in elementary ed and 8 in special ed. Prior to that, we had been doing the unpaid teacher residency option with VCU. And in the 1 year between 2023 and this January of 2024, our application pool increased 5,000% when we announced that we were going to be doing this as a fully paid option. We were struggling to find 6 applicants for the unpaid residency, and I went from 6 to I think it was 347 when we announced the full salary option. In March 2024, we were awarded the Grow Your Own Teacher Apprenticeship Grant. And with that grant, we partner with a consortium of 8 other school divisions. And that includes Chesterfield, Dinwiddie, Essex, Henrico, Petersburg, Prince George, Waynesboro, and Surrey. In August of 2024, we added 9 additional teacher apprentices to our program, 6 in elementary, 3 in special ed, and all of these are now registered with the Virginia Work Department Development and Advancement Group. So Prince William teacher apprentices are issued their own specific 195-day contract. And if they were previously employed with us, such as TAs, subs, temps, I've had a security assistant be accepted into the program. I've had someone from outside of the community be accepted. They resign from that position the summer before starting the apprenticeship. They start VCU coursework the summer before starting into the August school year. And then they begin with their mentor teacher as soon as school starts in August. Year 1 of the program, they are with their mentor 3 days a week in the school, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Mondays and Fridays are fully dedicated to completing their VCU coursework. And during this first year, their duties are very similar to that of a teacher assistant. They are observing, learning from their mentor teacher. They are pulling students and working in small group instruction, one-on-one tutoring. They may start to do one lesson, teaching one lesson towards the end of the year, but again, duties that are very similar to that of a teacher assistant. It is the beginning of year 2 that they really begin the co-planning, co-teaching model. That's their actual residency year. And during that second year, they are in the classroom with the mentor from the very first day of school to the end, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, with Friday being the day that they're dedicated to their VCU coursework. And this is kind of what that second year residency looks like. So in August, if you look at the car, the mentor teacher is the driver and the apprentice is
kind of in the back seat. They start the year co-planning, co-teaching, but the apprentice may only be doing 1 to 2 lessons a day and just gradually beginning to take over the teaching responsibilities. By mid-school year, like in the January timeframe, the apprentice is now solo teaching in the classroom with that mentor. The mentor is now more in the role of the teacher assistant, where the mentor is doing small group instruction and one-on-one tutoring, while the teacher apprentice is doing like a 9-week solo teaching. And then they come back together doing the co-teaching, co-planning. But at this point, the apprentice is the lead teacher all the way to the end of the school year. The benefits of this program for the teacher apprentice, all cost barriers are removed. They get full tuition coverage, all expenses paid. They don't pay for their praxis fees. They truly don't pay for any costs to get their bachelor's degree, teaching license in this program to become a teacher. They get their new teacher coach upon completion of the program. They receive professional development throughout the program. They build a professional network while they're in the apprenticeship, develop leadership skills, an opportunity to reflect on teaching practices, the 2 years of mentorship with the experienced teacher, on-the-job training, followed by the 2 additional years with the coach, certification to teach in Virginia, and priority consideration for a position in Prince William at the end of the position. Research has shown that student achievement and post-secondary success are correlated with teacher quality and effectiveness. And VCU data has shown that RTR prepared teachers versus traditionally prepared teachers, especially with elementary students, have shown faster gains in reading and math, despite being in the lower performing schools. The most significant impact on student achievement is collective teacher efficacy. And one thing that Kim McKnight, the director of RTR, and I have consistently said over and over, teaching is the profession that creates all others. And this program, more than any other, it so gets the individuals prepared for teaching. It is such a quality program. It truly has been an honor to work on this, and I'm so grateful to Shauna, to Rob, to Dr. Kuntz, and especially to Dr. Kim McKnight, my partner at RTR. She was supposed to be here today. She is running a little bit late, but it takes a village to make this happen. And the collaboration and the partnership that has gone into this, to include the phenomenal leadership that I have in Prince William, for them to believe in this opportunity and allow us to start it even before the grant opportunities were on the horizon was a huge leap of faith. And it has just been a wonderful opportunity. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Well, thank you so much.
So again, excellent presentation, Shauna and Shelby, and one more round of applause for them. Next up, we have Mr. Gilstrap to bring 2 action items. The first one referring to our higher education and new programs that was presented by Dr. Torbert. I am enjoying saying that, by the way. And then second, the VLA regulations for chapter 23, paying attention to line 326. Right, well, come on in.
Let me pull up the right presentation. Before I open the agenda items, I wanted to say something about something Sean said. I know why she probably didn't mention this, but I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and mention it anyway. When we did the ESSER Grow Your Own last year, we struggled to find divisions that were confident enough to sign up for it, especially at a short notice. And we had millions and millions of dollars to spend because we had ESSER money, but we only had a short time to spend it. And then we opened up this one, which is the SAFE grant, which has got some guaranteed money for a few years. And this first round, the pocket of money that's available is like 2.255 or something like that $1 million. And just in less than a month, we have like over 11 million dollars worth of requests. So what that tells me, number one, people have more confidence than they did before. And Shauna has done a much better job getting everybody excited and ready for that. But it also is still a big need, and it is a need that works. And I thank you so much, Shelby, for presenting that. I am going to steal some of your data on my thing on the 20th. I'm sure that there's some things you said that if you're watching, you go, wait a minute, he took that right from my presentation. And the answer is yes, I did. And I'm sure I've got other things that I'm going to talk about, but I think it's just such a nice, tight picture of the effectiveness. And you're not the only division that is doing well with this, but yours is a good example because you have a partnership with the university not even near you, and you have other divisions that are working all together. So it's just a really nice partnership there. Plus the fact that you all already were moving that direction. We just were able to come along and support you with that and give some, I guess, guardrails through Virginia Works and other parts with that. So thank you for your presentation. And I am excited about Apprenticeship Week, even though I'm only going to do my 1 hour. That's my 1 hour of fame, I guess. I don't, it's not going to be fame. So let's go to the agenda items. And I can pull up presentations if anyone has any questions. But the first one has to do with the approved programs that John Al presented earlier. Let's see, what were the names of those? I think I have them real fast here. This is the board doc that will go forward should you all approve, but it also has the listing. So I like to, so here's the listings. Well, this one has a few more, doesn't it? This has more. Yeah, this has the ones. So we had a approval for programs a month ago, and it got bumped from the board agenda, which that's fine. It wasn't a rush, but we're including all of those with the ones from today. So this is everything, but I'll go ahead and pull up the one that's just for today because you don't need to filter through that. This one? Okay, there we go. Thank you. There you go. In case you wanted to see what programs we're talking about again. This would require someone to make a recommendation, a second, and then an approval process, should you all choose to do that. And we can also answer questions. Yeah.
Dr. Arnold, speaking my language.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good morning. One minor correction to the list there. Emory and Henry College is now Emory and Henry University.
Oh,
And that needs to be corrected. But I would move that we approve the new education endorsement programs as presented.
Welcome.
Susan Trainer, I second it.
Discussion? Questions?
So motion's made and properly seconded that we adopt the list of programs with the amendment to Emory Henry. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign? Any abstentions?
He's not there anymore.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. So we'll go to the second one. Second recommendation is for our VLA changes for Chapter 23. As a reminder, we've already done half of this process with changes to Chapter 543. This should be the end of that. There was some discussion along the ways when I made my presentation. So if anybody would like to make a recommendation, please include whatever adjustments you would like to make in that. You don't have to, but it's going to be corrected eventually.
Peggy Schimler. Oh, thank you. So I think it was line 326 reads fiction and nonfiction. So change that to literary and information text. Thank you. But also I found a couple other places on line 393. It reads the ability to foster appreciation of a variety of fiction and nonfiction. So that would need to be changed as well to literary and information. And I think one more place. I found it. Yes, on line 599 as well. It reads of fiction and nonfiction texts. So that would need to be changed to literary and information. Oh, and also on line 619, it reads.
What was the second one?
599. Want me to go back?
Yeah, I'm just going to mark it so that I can fix it. 393. Here we go. And then 5 what? Okay.
619.
And I believe that was all.
Yeah, no, I think she did. Like that was a motion with those edits.
Yeah.
So I will
Started
second.
it off with, I think.
I will Eric Moffa, and I will second everything Peggy has just said.
Questions, discussion?
All right, so motion's been made and properly seconded to adjust line 326, line 393, line 599, and line 619 to go from fiction versus nonfiction, replaced with literary and informational text. We do have a motion and a second. Again, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign? Any abstentions? Motion passes. You're welcome.
All right, leave that open. We have both, let me introduce somebody real quick. Let me do that real quick. You have a microphone? I told you all at the beginning that we have a new member and she's here. Miss Montgomery's here. And is it Dr. Montgomery? I'm sorry. Not yet. Almost Dr. Montgomery is here. And I told her I'd give her an opportunity to introduce herself and greet you all.
Hi, I'm Sharnita Montgomery. I am from Newport News, Virginia. Work for Newport News Public Schools. This is my 25th year teaching. I right now, I currently work at Newport News Juvenile Detention. It's like my 8th year, but I spent like 17 years teaching middle school before that. I'm excited to be on the board today. It's not my first board. I'm also on the VCTM board as a secondary representative for mathematics. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for being with us. For our liaison reports, Dr. Lewis and Dr. Osei both said that they will have reports on our next meeting, but do not have them for this meeting. We need to take over for that. Okay.
So before we actually adjourn out for working lunch, please note on our standing committees, we did have a modification to our agenda today. And Dr. Schemmler, you are the chairperson for teacher education, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, with that also being said, our other committee, which is licensure, cannot be chaired by Dr. Maffa because he serves as the board's vice chair. With that being said, we do need to have an individual to take over the chairperson of that committee. Are there any nominations from the floor? Do it.
Ron Ramsey, I would nominate Dr. Andy Cox.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to nominate Dr. Cox. Any further nominations? Is there a motion to close the floor to further nominations? There you go. All right, so by acclamation, Dr. Cox, we appreciate you. Yay. Additionally, going into our afternoon working lunch discussions, there has been some information sent to you by email from Ms. Bryant. And I will thank Mr. Ramsey for providing those. So there are 2 items that you should have received. And they are JLOC reports as we are referencing statewide teacher retention strategies. With that being said, I'll turn things back over to Mr. Gilstrap.
Does anyone have any announcements or discussion items they would like to bring up at this time? That would be the appropriate time for this meeting. You guys are efficient today. Very efficient. All right. And we'll move on to the next thing.
Dr. Cox has something.
Thank you, Dr. Cox.
I'm sorry. So one thing in that, I guess this is more informational and maybe something that would be coming through us or around us in one way. But for all EPPs, we have to go through our CAPE accreditation every 7 years. And one of the things that we've been looking at is that programs that have the counseling endorsement are having to kind of do a bit of double work when it comes to accreditation because they have to go through the accreditation for the counseling program, and then they have to kind of repeat a lot of that through CAPE. And so what we have heard is that there are some legislators who are going to sponsor, I guess it's a bill or a proposal that would, if you have gone through the counseling accreditation through who is KCREP, then that would allow you to use that successful accreditation as evidence for CAPE so that you didn't have to go through that again. I don't know that this would ever come through us because I think if it goes through legislation, it actually goes around us. But it may be something that we want to keep on our radar as potential change to the regs to identify this process one way or another. But anyhow, just some information there.
Just to add on to that, if that were to happen, it all depends on how it is proposed. I mean, it could be proposed that the Board of Education to do this thing, or the Board of Education to provide feedback or guidance, or it could just be do it. And if it's just do it, then it does go all the way around the Board of Education. We still have to figure out how we would adjust, but that's one of we talked last year about all the bills that were coming through. And we're like, okay, when will this one go into effect? When will this one go into effect? And they looked like, okay, they were all approved on the same day. So don't they all go effect on the same day? Well, it all depends on the wording. If the wording said this happens, then it went into effect July 1st. If it said the board had to do something, then it had to wait for July 1st in the first board meeting for the board to start that action. And sometimes those actions are regulatory action. So that's why we have sometimes where we say like the 2022 legislation said blah, blah, blah. And now we're in 2024 and we're doing it because it takes regulatory action in some cases. And that can go back and forth. It's not as simple as just, okay, count the days and you're done. It could be adjusted and then reassessed. And so sometimes things take longer, but sometimes they go into effect immediately, all depending on the language that the bill is written with. Any other items for discussion or announcements? Yeah. I'll make a quick announcement. The amazing Dr. Kim Knight is with us from VCU. And so if anybody wants to talk about RTR or just good places to eat in Richmond City, she probably can give you all of that. But welcome. Uh-huh. All right. So before we do adjournment, I would like to point out what I would like to happen with the standing committees. So we do have 2 standing committees and we have time before lunch so that I can almost guarantee that most people will stick around and do the standing committees. I would like for one standing committee to be on this side of the room and one standing committee to be on that side of the room. You do not have to use the document that was shared with you, but it does have some good starter topics you can probably look at. And I would like for the standing committee for teacher education to talk about from the role of EPPs and teacher education, what can be done to increase retention and recruitment. And then the other committee, what from the standpoint of licensure could be done to increase teacher recruitment and retention. And then at the end, hopefully you all will be able to share out some ideas that you came up with, and I can use those ideas as we go forward. And you are an advisory board, not just the voting board or just the listening board. You're an advisory board. So I will be looking and hoping for some good advice from this board. You were all selected to be on this board because you all are amazing in your own areas. And so hopefully with all your varying perspectives, you give me some good input. You can, what, got a question? No?
I was going to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Now that our friend from VCU is here, in the same regard, during the discussion that the presentation that Shelby made and the discussion that Shauna led us through, dealing with the apprenticeship aspect. My comment is not necessarily about the public school apprenticeship aspect so much, but it is, if you will, a testimonial to the Richmond residency program. A number of years ago, I had a student who was under my tutelage at Henry University. Graduated in elementary education graduate. And I received information about the Richmond residency program offered through VCU. And I suggested that that was something he might want to look into. And as fate would have it, he did, entered the program, was accepted and entered the program. Completed a master's degree in special education and taught for a number of years here in inner city Richmond. And he speaks extremely highly of that particular experience. Now, he is no longer in Richmond public schools. He is teaching in inner city Dallas, Texas, and is thriving, is doing quite well. So I just want to throw that in as a testimonial to the residency program and as a corollary to the great possibilities that the apprenticeship program holds for education.
I'll pay you later.
Good start, and I'll find out about.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we'll proceed with adjournment. That does require a motion and a second.
Second, Bella Garland.
Is there any discussion about that? Because food cometh quick as well. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? This meeting now stands adjourned.